Do you want to come and grab a seat at the back, please, and we'll make a start? There's lots of lovely chairs, or if you want to stand up, please feel free. Well, firstly, good morning and welcome to HPSN UK 2018. My name is Amanda Wilford, and I work as part of the Education and Training team, also known as the Academy, here at CAE. So before we start, I'm doing the housekeeping piece. So this is my time to be a flight attendant. So I've spoken to the hotel today. There are no fire alarms planned, but in the event you do hear a fire alarm, if we're in this room, exit is here and here. Okay? And just please walk out, don't rush. Follow anybody wearing a top like this. We will be leading the way. The other important thing is just to talk a little bit just about the way the program's going to work today. Hopefully you've all got something a little bit like this. If you want to know more details about the abstracts and the content, please visit the website, www.hpsn.com. For all of the sessions, you can just pop in at any time. The only one you need to pre-register for today is adult basic life support, and I believe Karen from Training for Health is here. There she is, there she's waving. If you would like to be BLS certified today, Karen can do that for you. You just need to register at registration, and 20 of you can, by the end of the day, be BLS certified, if that's something you want to do. That's at 1 o'clock. There's one additional session on the program, so at 1 o'clock, in the Rose Garden room, and all the rooms of flowers and plants are down that end where the tea and coffee and lunch is, and anything that's apple related like Braeburn and Pippin is at this end. But if you wanted, at 1 o'clock in the Rose Garden room, the technology drop-in will be replaced by a wonderful team, Sam Tarrant and the team from the University of Portsmouth are going to talk about how they've implemented an audiovisual solution across their very innovative nursing curriculum. So if that's something you're interested in, then pop along at 1 o'clock to the Rose Garden room. And then the technology drop-in will be shortly after that. And the Learning Space user group meeting will begin at 2:15 in the Acorn room. And the Acorn rooms are on the first floor, outside the glass lift, and then Acorn 2 on the second floor. Okay, so it gives me great pleasure to introduce our opening presenter or speaker, Dr. Robert Amyot. He's actually the president and head of CAE Healthcare. For those of you that have read about Dr. Amyot, he's a cardiologist by profession, and a number of years ago he realized that there was a gap, particularly around ultrasound. So he invented the Viomedics ultrasound simulation. And there's some examples here, so please have a look at that. Robert now leads CAE Healthcare, and last week in Florida was inaugurated as one of the simulation champions of the world. So it gives me great pleasure to welcome, to give our opening address, Dr. Robert Amyot.
Thank you. Thank you, Mandy. Welcome to Nottingham. Welcome to HPSN UK 2018. It's a great pleasure to see you, colleagues and friends. It's our second time in this venue, 2 years in a row, and it's a great pleasure to celebrate innovations in healthcare. Some of you have been here since the inception of our HPSN conferences. Some of you may be here for the first time. I welcome all of you. So although we call it HPSN UK, we have attendees today from 10 countries. So all coming from different experience and different venues, but all sharing the same noble mission. We want to improve the quality of care. We want to improve the delivery of healthcare in our respective systems. So we know that simulation can improve that. We know that simulation is going to fulfill our purpose of improving not only the training of students, but also the training of healthcare practitioners. As a global training partner of choice, CAE Healthcare is here to support you. We have more than 400 employees. We have thousands of customers in more than 90 countries, and they all come from diverse backgrounds and protocols, But one thing that they have in common, something that inspires me really, is their passion to improve what they do every day. We know painfully that there are too many preventable errors in all the medical systems throughout the world, and clearly we want to improve that. Simulation has proven that it can improve and implement a culture of safety in different industries, and healthcare is the same. We can improve what we do thanks to simulation-based education. And it's not just to improve the skills of students on a specific procedure. It's really to implement a culture of safety, an environment that's more resilient to errors, an environment with standardized protocols where we foster teamwork, where the team dynamic is optimized, so that we can make a difference for every patient. We can make a difference for all the family members. We can make a difference for the physicians, the nurses and the practitioners, the EMS technicians who want to improve every day what they do. So our theme this year at HPSN UK 2018 is From Training to Practice, Simulation Comes of Age. So simulation has matured over the last decades. It's now used in more than 90 countries, and we know that we want to celebrate all of the strides that we've made. But we're only getting started. There's so much to do. So in order to create a better system, a culture of safety, simulation needs to become part of a continuum. It needs to be more than just courses that we give in a simulation center disjointed from our clinical practice. It really needs to be connected with the issues that we have in hospitals and wherever healthcare is delivered so that we can improve what we're doing in the hospitals. It needs to be that loop between the simulation center and the hospitals. So to bring simulation to the next level, we really need to expand, not only training students in the classroom or in schools, we need to expand to all the healthcare providers. And that's how we're going to fulfill our purpose with simulation. So moving in the clinical arena, touching the nurses that have been in practice on the floor for 20 years, the physicians who've been practicing for decades, and also the experienced EMS providers. They all want to improve, and they should have access to the same kind of exciting and engaging technology that we give to the students. In aviation, we know that simulation is used not only for the students, it's used to maintain the credentials of the professionals, of the pilots. They need to certify every 6 to 12 months. That's how they keep their license, and that's how aviation has become a reference in terms of safety. So we know a little bit about pilots and training in civil aviation at CAE. That's also what we do. We're in healthcare, but we've been for 71 years training pilots. That's what we do day in, day out. So imagine, if you think of all the full flight simulators installed on the face of this planet, 75% were designed and built, manufactured by CAE. So we train more than 130,000 pilots in our training centers in civil aviation. That's more than 35% of all the pilots on the face of this planet in commercial aviation. And we've been involved in safety in aviation for more than 40 years. Imagine that in the late 70s, CAE sat at the table with the regulators, with the authorities, those setting the guidelines and making training mandatory. They were there with the airlines and also with the manufacturers of the aircrafts, sitting around the table, finding ways to improve safety. And now civil aviation, 40 years later, is a reference in terms of high reliability organization. It works. Imagine, in the last 40 years, it has become, mile for mile, 1,000 times safer to fly in commercial aviation. 1,000 times safer. It's much safer than driving a car, by the way. Mile for mile, it's 22 times safer to fly in commercial aviation than to drive your car. When you're, traveling, the risky part of the journey is when you're driving to the airport, right? Because flying 35,000 feet over an ocean in a metal tube, going almost at the speed of sound, that's pretty safe nowadays. It's much safer than driving a car. Imagine, the impact of using simulation and mandatory recertification. It worked very well in that industry, and now we want to expand in healthcare. Why would patients entering a hospital get less than a high reliability organization? I know that it's all our passion and we want to improve. Tomorrow, for that bridge between aviation safety and patient safety, I'll show you a short trailer of a documentary called To Err is Human. It's a very compelling documentary making a strong case to really change the way that we address safety in healthcare. Very interesting documentary. You'll see that tomorrow. And I'll follow also with a video of an experiment that we led in Toronto last week. It was in one of our civil aviation training centers, and we invited healthcare providers to have a discussion with professional pilots in civil aviation. So they had the discussion in the classroom, and then the conversation was pursued in full flight simulators. So it was great, it was awesome, it was interesting, it was fun, but it was also very instructive how both industries and both experts and professionals can share best practices. So it's our part of bridging that gap and building bridges, I would say, between aviation safety and patient safety. But today our focus is technology and the technologist. Very good news for you. We're making strides. We want to be the leaders in innovation. And we are really rising to the challenge to meet the needs and the expectations of the Web 2.0 generation. So imagine, nowadays, the new generations, they come to the classroom and to the simulation center with very different skill set and very different expectations. For kids nowadays, a normal day with a smartphone and a video game or just shopping, may mean using augmented reality, using mixed reality, virtual reality, using cloud-based technology, artificial intelligence, and all these new technologies. Why, when they move in the classroom, would they expect less than that? Imagine a university, imagine a college, a shrine of knowledge, of research, where you would expect the latest and the greatest in terms of pedagogy, but also in terms of innovation. Why entering the classroom would be like entering a time warp to the past? You would expect quite the opposite. In my mind, where education is given, you would expect quite the opposite. You would expect a glimpse of the future. You would expect the latest technology. So we're very proud to say that we're working on it. Our very latest innovations use a lot of these mixed reality technologies. We're very proud of the strides that we have accomplished with the Microsoft HoloLens. It's a self-contained computer that projects holograms in the environment, and we've really made strides. We've implemented that on our ultrasound simulator, the Vimedix simulator, and also on our birthing simulator, Lucina AR. Lucina AR is the first augmented reality, high-fidelity childbirth simulator where the physiology of the baby and the mother is integrated and on which we are projecting holograms. And the holograms are interactive. So you have a virtual instructor, you can see the anatomy, the physiology, it's very dynamic. We're very excited with that technology, obviously. We believe that we're really breaking ground, and it seems that we kind of won the popular vote. When we introduced Lucina AR, we created a video to promote it. And to our surprise, it went viral on the internet. In a span of 4 weeks, it had 2.5 million views. So my wife was, pointing out that now I'm competing with the Kardashians. So with that said, let's look at that video and that technology that went viral. CA Healthcare is well positioned to create new innovative products. We have created a breadth of technologies that we can now assemble as building blocks. The students nowadays, they come to the classroom with different expectations. They're expecting an interactive environment, something that's engaging. We're breaking ground with Lucina AR. For the first time in the history of training in medicine, the anatomy becomes visible to the whole classroom, and you can see the progression of the baby inside the birthing canal. So that's pretty unique. Integrating HoloLens and holograms into a physical patient simulator. You can actually walk around the simulator and see the fetus, for example, inside the mother from different angles. Beyond the wow effect, there's a real educational value of having these holograms. The group is going to be understanding the same reality, so now the instructor can really focus on how to manage a complication. Nothing ever has provided that level of information. It's not a textbook, it's not a video, it's not a PowerPoint presentation that's going to give you that kind of understanding. CA Healthcare selected shoulder dystocia as the first scenario on Lucina AR because it's a rare complication of delivery, but it's one that's difficult to manage. You have a number of options, you need to think fast. Seeing the anatomy, seeing the progression of the baby in the birthing canal, and seeing where the shoulder gets stuck is going to be very helpful to understand how to fix it. Seeing them in front of your very eyes as a student is like a revelation, right? This is the future of healthcare education. Really beyond the spectacular of that experience, there's an educational purpose that we're fulfilling, and that
no other means or media has fulfilled up to now.
Well, if I had known that this video would go viral, I would have worn a different shirt. We're only beginning to realize the potential of integrating these holograms into our solutions, our suite of products, to see the anatomy, to create a very engaging and interactive experience, and also to see the physiology. And our other experiment was with the Vimedix AR. That's our ultrasound simulator. We embedded HoloLens on it, so now you can project holograms. Once again, you see the anatomy and the physiology. It's very spectacular. Very proud to say that we won a Unity award. So Unity is that software that's a gaming engine, essentially, that runs most of the video games nowadays, so it's a big thing. So we were at their annual conference, and winning an award at that conference is like winning an Academy Award for gamers. It's like an Oscar. So we were there competing against very small companies like NVIDIA, Google, Microsoft, who was there, Panasonic, Nintendo. And imagine, we were there with an application for Microsoft HoloLens, and we won against Microsoft. So it was a little bit surreal, right, to get the trophy. So anyways, but very exciting. And obviously it caught the eye and the attention of Microsoft, because now they shot a video about CAE, and our technology is showcased at their headquarters in Redmond, in Washington State, and that's the example of what you can achieve with HoloLens in healthcare. So we're very proud. That's the only technology that they display. So just to show you the impact of our technology. So in terms of HoloLens application in healthcare, we want to be the leader in terms of implementing mixed reality, augmented reality, and virtual reality. So what's very important for me is that I want you to stop by our innovation product showcase. I want you to try the HoloLens, and we want to get your feedback. That's very important for us, because although we have great engineers working with outstanding technology, I don't want just a wow effect, right? Because that does never last. We really want to fulfill an educational purpose, and we're not going to do that on our own. We need your feedback. So please come to our technology showcase and guide us into what's the next step, because we're going to develop a lot of these applications, but without you steering us, we're never going to see the best applications for that technology. So obviously we're going to explore a lot with these new technologies. And for me, an anecdote that illustrates the power of that kind of technology is one of my colleagues, a VP of strategy at CAE, wanted to have a demo of Lucina AR. So obviously I run the demo, but that day we didn't have the physical mannequin. Lucina was not there. It was in a demo elsewhere. So I just ran the demo. We have a mode where everything's virtual, right? So everything was holographic. The stretcher, the mother, and also the baby. So we deliver a baby, everything being virtual, jaw drop, he's very impressed. The following day, we're talking to our boss, right? And he goes, well, it's very impressive, and he turns to me and says, well, I don't know how your engineers could anchor, in a very stable fashion, anchor that hologram into a physical mannequin. And I go, well, there was no physical mannequin. He goes, come on, there was a stretcher, there was something. Actually, it's an empty room. It was you, me, HoloLens, that's it. So I was very impressed, second jaw drop. So imagine the power of something projecting holograms that after a few days confuses the user on what was real and what was not. So that's the power of HoloLens, and we're very happy to work with that. Another technology that we're very enthusiastic about is SimScape. So SimScape is a learning environment. We created that in partnership with the American Society of Anesthesiologists, ASA. 1 year ago, we announced that we had a partnership, and we created a virtual OR. So it's a gaming engine. There are avatars, and the anesthesiologist playing the game, quote unquote, is actually interacting with our physiology that's embedded in the patient and can interact with all the monitors and the players in that environment. It's approved by the American Board of Anesthesiology for MOCA credits, Maintenance of Certification in Anesthesiology. So imagine how powerful it is. Now, we're not just recertifying on a regular basis pilots. Now we're applying that kind of approach of mandatory recertification to anesthesiologists with simulation. So it's an important stride. We're the only company doing that. It's a very, very unique solution. Now, as we speak, we have only one module that's commercialized. We just commercialized the second one 2 weeks ago. A third one is going to come this summer. We already have 2,000 anesthesiologists who played the game, if you will, who were part of that. And what's very powerful in my mind with Anesthesia SimStat is the fact that it's all based on data. So the scenarios are based on what the anesthesiologists struggle with in healthcare, and it's all based on data. And when they run through the scenario, their performance is assessed in a very objective fashion because it's all digital. And that way we can improve the course itself, of course, but we can have an impact on the healthcare, on the delivery of care so that it's safer. So we know their behavior, and we hope that it's going to have a lasting effect on their practice. And that very data-driven approach is something that we have in common with aviation. That's exactly the same model. So imagine 20 years ago, CAE with the airlines decided that they were starting an initiative that would be leveraging data to better understand the behavior of pilots. It's called FOCA, Flight Operations Quality Assurance. So essentially what they did is started collecting all the data from the black boxes and putting that in the cloud in a massive database so that it's scrutinized by deep learning artificial intelligence to understand risky behavior and how to improve in aviation. So initially there was a lot of pushback. You know, the pilots and others would go, why look at the data of a normal flight segment, right? We're interested with the black box with crashes. You know, normal flight segment, there's no interest. Little did they know. Within a few months, they discovered that 20% of the pilots were landing in an unstable approach, which means that 20% of the pilots were landing, well, they were not in the ideal funnel. They were coming in too fast, too slow, too high, too low. Flying 101 tells you that they need to pick up some momentum, go back in the air, and then land on a stable approach. But they were landing anyways with arguments like, well, I've landed F-16s, I can land this thing. Well, yeah, not with my family on board, right? It's a risky behavior. So there were no crashes officially related to that risky behavior, but obviously it's something that had to be fixed. And it was fixed globally within 12 months because all the pilots need to recertify within 12 months, every 6 to 12 months. So guess what? In the next cycle of recertification, scenario number one was you're on an unstable approach. Do you land anyways? If they were landing anyways, they were failing, which means that they can't fly the aircraft. They lose their license. It's taken very seriously, that cycle of recertification. So through data, a risky behavior was improved. And that's exactly what we're doing with ASA SimStat. It's not going to take away licenses from anesthesiologists. It's not that thorough in healthcare, but we're assessing behavior and we know what to improve because it's all based on data. And that augmented reality, virtual reality, these gaming environments are the new frontiers in simulation, but in my mind, they contribute to create that continuum of learning. In other words, instead of having a session for practitioners every year in a sim center, you can imagine that now with that kind of very flexible and accessible technology, you fill in the gaps. Instead of going to the sim center unprepared, you can imagine that now all the participants are going to use HoloLens the day before their session with the group. On their own, in the comfort of their homes, after dinner, they can go through a case of shoulder dystocia, see the anatomy, see the physiology, see the descent of the baby in the birthing canal, how its shoulder gets obstructed, and how the maneuvers fix it. And then interacting with the virtual instructor, they can do a lot on their own. So when they come to the simulation center the following day, they're more prepared. Now they can focus on the team dynamic, on communication, and now fixing the issue on the real mannequin, so really learning in terms of skills, physical skills. And after that session in the sim center, you can imagine that that screen-based simulation of that HoloLens experience is used to reinforce the training. They can relive the experience and run through once again the guidelines and the maneuvers to fix shoulder dystocia. So in our minds, this completes this cycle of learning, this comprehensive continuum of learning, which is flexible and which is adapted to how adults learn. Now, speaking of innovation and technology, we're very excited. This month, we are introducing a new mannequin. It's CAE Aries. CAE Aries is our new emergency care mannequin. Aries is reliable, it's robust, it can be used in the field, and it's run by our very intuitive interface, which is CAE Maestro. So CAE Aries is making his European debut here in Nottingham, so we're very excited. Hopefully you're going to go check it out, try it, and we want to have your feedback. And with Aries, we are strengthening our position as an EMS education provider. We want to be more active in that field, and it also dovetails very well with our collaboration with the American Heart Association. So in January, we announced an agreement with the American Heart Association. We have the designation of International Training Center. We're going to have establish AHA training centers in our facilities across the world internationally. And the purpose is to provide AHA accredited courses and certification in underserved countries. And this year we delivered our first series of courses, ALS, BLS, in our CAE multi-purpose training center in Brunei. So by partnering with medical societies and associations, we're offering our expertise, and we're really going from training students to the healthcare providers. So it's truly an exciting time in healthcare. I think we're at a very, very special moment in time where we have three conditions. The first one, in my mind, is the new generation of learners. They're very comfortable with technology, and they're expecting more of that technology in their training. It's also a moment in time where we have disruptive innovations that make us make quantum leaps in terms of possibilities. And finally, there's this environment with growing advocacy to improve and to make a systemic change in healthcare so that we can improve patient safety. So with these unique conditions, we see waves of changes happening, and we're happy to be part of that. I'm very excited to share this moment with you here. So I encourage you to explore our newest developments at our product showcase while you're here. Innovation is part of our DNA at CE Healthcare, but without your guidance, it's just cool technology. We need your guidance so that it fulfills your educational purpose. You inspire us to work harder, to do better every day. So we have an exceptional conference planned with 30 captivating sessions, thought-provoking keynote speakers, and we have the interactive innovation showcase I talked about. At the end of the day, you're all invited to the welcome reception tonight, where we can't wait to meet with you and hear your exciting stories about simulation. So thank you so much for attending. Thank you, Mandy Wilford. Thank you, Jamie Stewart, for organizing this exciting session. And thank you also for all the speakers and the presenters who are here today. Your contribution is going to make this event a success. So we appreciate all of your contribution to that event, and we look forward to a very exciting and engaging HPSN UK 2018. Thank you for your attention. My pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Dr. Richard Hellier. Richard is a senior teaching fellow and academic lead at the University of Bristol Biomedical Simulation Center. He specializes in the application of high-fidelity human patient simulation to the teaching of basic biomedical principles that underpin medicine, dentistry, and veterinary sciences. With over 20 years experience in higher education and over 10 years in simulation, his most recent work focuses on applying high-fidelity models, such as our CAE Muse physiology, to produce learning modules that demonstrate core aspects of whole body physiology and pathophysiology. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Richard Hellier.
Thank you. Thank you. You've kind of summed up my talk. I don't know whether So, can we get the